Cheers, everybody. Welcome to this live book tag, and thanks for coming. My name is Margaret, and you are on BookTube, or for today, you are on AuthorTube. So I haven't been the strictest about this, but one of my goals that I alluded to 6 months ago was that I tried to do 2 AuthorTube videos per month, usually in the third or fourth week. And I had a lovely panel that happened Sunday. I think we're in the same week. It's Friday, Sunday. Yeah, seems like forever ago, but yes. And so today I thought I would make the live book tag with a twist. It's going to be the time and place tag. I was tagged by Brittany at Literarily Smitten. And so I'm going to go through my answers for this, but they're all going to be about my journey as an author, not just a reader of books. So I thought that gave an interesting twist. And I will also color who I tag. So I know Scott and Elle have just changed their stripes for this tradition, but I'm going to go ahead and tag people at the beginning. Oh, and now I can't get back into the video description. There we go. All right. So I'm tagging people who have writing in their title in some way. So first up, we have Katya. Katya was just in my discussion of, and of course it's shortened here. Let's get the whole address. This is going to be a bummer. Katya was one of the discussants in my Wednesday video when my internet went out, which is delightful. And she has read, write, and create in her channel title. And she says, I haven't gotten around to any AuthorTube videos, but we're going to keep poking and keep saying, yay, yay, come over to the dark side. Come be with us. Hi, Barrett. Thanks for stopping in. I'm tagging people at the beginning just to mix it up because you normally do that. So Katya is tagged in this. And then next I have Jackie Reads and Writes, who is obscenely young. I just learned that she's 22 in the last video that she put out. And I thought, oh my God. Born in 1999? Like, what? What is that? It was a little scary to learn that, but that's fine. We're doing fine. So I'm going to tag her because she reads and writes. I'd love to hear more about her writing journey, AuthorTube journey. And then the last person I have on here is author J.C. Carpenter. And she has been sort of all over the place lately. She got a shout out from Michelle Schusterman, someone big. And so like she's been a lot of places. And so I have a special thing I'm going to show you in just a second about her as well. But let me get the full link because YouTube shortens all the dang links. There we go. Okay, so Katya, Jackie, and JC. And the reason JC is special today is because she does these giveaways where she has cute little stationery and writing things. And if you leave a comment, you're entered into a drawing. I think it's once a month, kind of like my treasure troves, but hers are a lot more successful. So maybe I should be taking notes. But I won! So there's some tissue paper. It's a lovely little package. So I just wanted to show what thoughtful things she does. She sends a little card. She's got like the stationery. These are the adorable like little pins that I have a few of and I like can't bear to use because they're so cute. Like if I use them, I lose them. And so hoarding tendency. Oh, how nice. Barrett says we're both getting shout outs from him in his video. Yay. Love JC Carpenter. Love all the shout outs. And Katie's here too. Yay, she needed a reason to procrastinate. Awesome. Although Katie does the thing where she does a getting ready with me video and then a BookTube themed video where they're both BookTube. But I highly admire that efficiency, Katie. So you've got it going on. What? I don't know what that was for. Sorry, I skipped that. So the little stationery, we've got sticker book because everyone needs stickers in their life. So these are going to be fun to use because I am a journaler and a planner person. And then gorgeous like notebook, traveler notebook with the elastic, which is funny because where did I put my planner? Oh, here we are. Which looks a lot like my actual planner. So she had my number and like all this stuff is just so cool. So I want to say thank you, author JC Carpenter. Let me pop her info up on there just to make sure everyone sees it. Go subscribe. She does great content. She has a book out. She has all the platforms. So pick your favorite and run with it. Be very excited to spread the news. It says, I support Katie's procrastination. JC is here! Woo! Yay! Welcome. Thanks for coming. Katie's saying, thank you. Jim's here too for Procrastination Central. Oh my God, you guys. It's a Friday. You're allowed. Let's all let it rip. A reminder. Wow, that is serious. Good job. And yes, so, your ears must have been burning because we're all talking about how awesome you were, how much we love you. Yes. Well done. Well done. Jim is here. He just finished scheduling his O tag. I'm going to do a really bad American joke and say something about an O face. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Okay. Parrot, JC is saying, I feel so special and loved. Awesome. Okay. So if you missed it, JC, you were also tagged in this video. So time and place. I have the prompt. There's only one prompt in the description, which is take 10 books and make them books that make you think of a certain time and place. So like we're walking down memory lane with you guys here. And I'm doing it with the AuthorTube twist. So I'm going to be starting to go through my my journey of my author self and novels, or not novels, but novels. No, they're mostly nonfiction. Obviously, that makes more sense. Yes, let's just keep this up on the screen. I like this one. Feel free to ask questions as I go because I'm going to be prattling on. Let's see, put that down and put that down so that we can see all the things at the bottom of the screen here. Okay, so as we start, who knows this book? Wishcraft. How to Get What You Really Want. And this is definitely the 1980s, early 1980s cover by Barbara Sher, who just recently passed away, I think last year. So hands up if you've read this or seen it or heard about it, because it's like one of the, I don't know, in my not a real cultish following, this is like a classic, a cult classic. And I first heard about this from my friend Malia Dicker, who is an amazing person who I was in AmeriCorps with and went to the same college, but we didn't know each other in college. Yeah. Very 80s, early 90s, not even heard of it. Okay, well, Barbara Sher is amazing. So she, beginning of self-help blossoming of that whole industry. And her book is all about forget what you were told, forget what you learned at school, try to drill down to what makes you you, what you really want in life. And it's kind of like the feel is very, what do you want to do with your one precious life, which is a quote from another, is it Mary Oliver? I think. And so that's the feeling, right? It's like, but then it's practical steps. It's like community organizing steps. It's like, let me put the information up here. So I read this because of my friend Malia, and I'm going to pass on her website. New to Barrett, new to Jim. Oh my gosh. Okay, awesome. Well, Malia took this to heart, and her website I just put up is Reschool Yourself. She felt so sort of caged in by the way she had been educated that she decided to unlearn everything by going back to school and intentionally questioning some of the things she'd learned and how she'd been socialized. And it was brilliant. She started after AmeriCorps when she was still doing other jobs, running a nonprofit, on the board of another, like amazing. But this project was about her examining her beliefs about herself and how she learned and what she was good at and why she was doing what she was doing. So there's something called barn raising in this book, which is a great concept of like, in the Midwest in the 19th century, Americans had this tradition of barn raising where they would call their neighbors, have a party, raise a barn together because you couldn't do it by yourself, and thank everyone. And then when it was someone else's turn, they would do it. And so it's sort of like the philosophy of, I don't know, socialism, that you help your neighbor and they'll help you back, and you all pull together so that you can all like lift the tide to lift all boats. Right? Raise the tide to lift all boats, something like that. And anyway, so this is like one of the first books that taught me about going deep, unlearning things. And this started my lovely journey of realizing I could write as a profession, like as something that called to me deeply, and establish a connection between me and certain community of people. So this is a special place in my heart. This is the actual first edition that I had. So some books I've lost and gotten replacements. This is the first edition that I had. So very special. Yes, Barrett knows barn raising. Well, then Barbara Scher because, or the Midwest version. I don't know. Maybe you've actually helped raise a barn. Who knows? Oh yes, Amish community. Yeah, that is part of where it comes from. They probably still do it, and I think of it as historical. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So that's book number 1. What have I got next? I've got The Renaissance Soul by Margaret Lobenstein. Has anyone heard of this one? This is just continuing my brand of books you've never heard of. For those of you who are here and are like, what? Okay, so The Renaissance Soul, the subtitle is Life Designed for People with Too Many Passions to Pick Just One. And if this doesn't describe most writers I know, I'll eat my hat, my non-existent hat. Okay, so Barrett, yeah, see, you're getting all the new books. Again, self-development portion of the bookstore. And this introduced me to, I'm going to drop all these links on you guys today. This introduced me to Emily Wapnick, and her website, Putty Like Play-Doh. She now has a TED Talk. I'm popping the TED Talk link up there. She came up with this concept called multi-potentialite, and it's the same thing, right? But this book is one of the things that I found that helped me when I got out of college and, after a double major minor and trying to do everything and trying to do good in the world, I was still struggling to find a combination of things that would satisfy that desire in the world. And she's got, I don't know, radical against the stream ideas of how to organize your life. Because when this was written, like mid-90s or mid-2000s or something, I don't think people really grasped the changing economy that we had because of the internet yet, and the way that our career paths were changing, and the fact that you weren't going to be a company man anymore. But it really sort of presaged that whole era. So this talks about doing things, breaking them up and having several part-time jobs, breaking them up and doing things seasonally, doing things for a few years and then leaving to go to a different industry, and like breaking up the shame about any of those things not being normal or good enough or serious enough. And as someone who grew up wanting to be considered serious about, saving the world and doing good work, this was really important in terms of, again, unlearning, taking the bricks out of that wall that had me sort of like thinking about one way to go through a work life. So pretty important. And if you're all wondering, Emily Wapnick was here in Portland for a long time. And then I think she moved to Canada and she did like a van life thing. So she's done a whole lot of stuff, as you might suspect from her philosophy. But if you want to learn more about her, the TED Talk is up there with a really ugly link. But yeah, that's what I grabbed off the internet there. And that is my book 2. Let's see. Still Still new. Okay. Um, yes. Book 3, also set in Portland, The Art of Nonconformity by Chris Guillebeau. Set your own rules, live the life you want, change the world. So you might be noticing a theme here. These are less author focused, but more like, oh, I don't have to be this one type of thing to be successful type thing. Well, it'll evolve. Don't worry, it'll evolve. But yes, Chris Guillebeau is the mastermind behind something called, anyone know? Oh my gosh, you guys are all like, I don't know any of these books, Margaret, stop asking. WDS. And I've, looked up I've looked up plenty of WDS things to get links, and it always goes somewhere else, like whatever. My WDS stands for World Domination Summit. After he wrote a couple books, he started this conference here in Portland in the summer called the World Domination Summit. And it's not, like beaming a message to the aliens to come conquer us because we can't take care of the earth. Although it was something about combining nonconformity, so doing what you want with your life, with a life of service and a community of people who are thinking outside the box. And so he was like working these 3 things together, bringing lots of speakers who had done amazing things, started nonprofits, worked in development. And so for me, with a development background, I was really called to that and thought, ooh, maybe I can do some sort of business that brings in different elements and, again, do it all. Do it all. We're always seeking to do it all, but yeah, so it's a small book, but again, unlearning and plunging forward. So yes. When I got it, it was $14.95, but I'm sure there's used copies where you guys are, so definitely check it out. And I just laughed at Barrett's. So 3rd book, new to him, He Will Die with a TBR, and all of us will. I just saw someone had a tag where it was like, what was it? It was the books that you want to read before you die. And I was like, isn't that all of them? Like, how do you know? No. So, yeah, so that was book number 3. We're moving chronologically through my life here. I don't know if I made that clear. Chronologically. What do we have next? Gift from the Sea. So I'm sure people have heard of this one. It's by Anne Morrow Lindbergh, and I have had several copies. This is not the first edition, but this is the edition. Oh, yep. Okay, so To Margaret, Love from Aunt Irene. This is the first edition, but I've gotten more and handed them on to people. That's what happened. When I was living in DC, after graduating from grad school, I got close with a family that on my mom's side lived up on Long Island. And my mom's cousin and aunt, basically, who lived on Long Island. And so my great aunt, Irene, passed away last year, but she gave me this book at a time when I was looking for something more. Despite all the unlearning books, I was still in a 9-to-5 job at a nonprofit in DC, paying a lot for rent, and had made good friends in school, but didn't know what I was doing. Do we ever know what we're doing? No. But this is a very small book that is about a woman in the early 20th century. She was Charles Lindbergh's wife, but she also came from like an ambassadorial family or something. The Morrows of somewhere in New England, some fancy blue bloods. And anyway, so she was a wife and mother and writer, and was considering in this point in her career how to balance things, how to do what she wanted. And so it was a different perspective on same kind of thing. Like, what's your life purpose? How do you keep going when you are thwarted? How do you connect with people? Like, all these interesting sorts of insights. And it's one you can revisit again and again. I valued this one so much I didn't even dog ear it. So yeah, it's a not very expensive copy. So I think if I dog eared it, they would have fallen off eventually. But due for a reread for sure, because it's like a deep thinking, quiet sort of book. And I would definitely recommend this to people who are just needing a quiet period or a fallow period or some not retrogression, introspection. There we go. Gift from the sea. And because I had such a great relationship with my great aunt and her daughter, Ginny, I thought I would put up a link to a blog post because when I first moved to Portland, I was here because I had written a draft of a book and I thought, oh, I'm ready now. I'm ready to unleash me on the world, right? And I moved out here right as Ginny was diagnosed with aggressive lung cancer and knew she wasn't going to live long. So she called me like a few months after I'd moved. I moved to here in February of 2013. And she called me on my birthday that year and said, here's my diagnosis. I sent you a card, but I didn't want to blindside you. And here's what's happening. And I didn't get to talk to her again after that. She died like a month or 2 months later. So that was a really meaningful turn because it was family members who had inspired me to make this move and go after things that I wanted in life. And then she was gone. So it was very, very meaningful. And it was a sort of call to action in itself. So that's why I really value this on my author journey. Okay. All right. So that was 4. And that is the blog post, Memorial Day, so May. So that's when she passed away and I got the news and I wrote about it, just reflecting on that Memorial Day. Whew. Okay, keep going. We have, once I was established in Portland, I was telling my friend John earlier that I've experimented in a lot of things. I think that was the first time I'd lost someone who I felt close to, that was really alive in my memories, and just felt the loss of. And so I looked up different things and I was trying to, get back to some sort of spiritual practice, and I was doing yoga. I was practicing yoga a lot. I was getting interested in astrology and tarot and counseling and just lots of different things, pagan beliefs, especially because I was starting to write about the UK and the history of the UK and sort of peasant folklore beliefs and getting really interested in that. And those link pretty well. So I saw this on the sidewalk, and it was one of those, like, it was a snowy day. So I guess it was 2014 maybe. And there was a box of books, and it was in a box in the snow, but it wasn't ruined. So I picked it up and I was like, well, this looks like something that's meant to find me at this point in time. So I actually read through this whole book of Astrology, A Cosmic Science, classic work on spiritual astrology. And if anyone knows anything about astrology, it's a lot about what you choose to develop inside you and how you interpret events. And so it's been a while now, but I think going through this, I was looking at my charts, and Ginny was also really big into astrology. So my cousin who had just passed away, she had definitely had my charts, and I didn't really get into it before she was gone. So it felt like I was sort of checking out some of the things she was interested in. She's also big on glacial moraines. She had a science background in geology, and so I just sort of picked my way through things that she was interested in every so often, just to sort of feel closer. And so, yeah, so this was something that I was just trying out as an experiment. And that is really the story of my author life, is experimenting with things, especially marketing things, and seeing if they work for me, and trying at this point to acknowledge, okay, I tried something new. That was good. That was good practice. Now go on and do something else. Let it go and move on. I don't know if you guys have examples of stuff that you've tried to do new things. You thought, oh, maybe this is my ticket, maybe this is the new thing, and then you do it and you're like, well, it didn't work. Or, well, this isn't really what I'm looking for, and you turn to something else. So if you do, lay us some knowledge, drop some knowledge on us in the comments. What have you tried as a writer or author that either worked and you've flourished with, or you realized wasn't the way for you and you're trying something different? Either one are valuable experiences. So there we go. Book 5. I think that's 5. Yeah. All right. Katie's saying, I don't actually think I believe in astrology, but I find it so fascinating. I love reading about it. Yes, me too. It's like, I don't believe that the stars dictate our actions. Obviously, I don't believe in predestination or fate, but there is something about the fact that we're made of stardust and the fact that everything is related and the fact that like animism has some sort of truth, to it, that we're all related in nature. And in my wrap up, I will be talking about Rooted, a book that talks about spirituality and nature and science in a really good way. So yeah, so it relates to that. I don't know if that like resonates with you, Katie, but that's why I have that couple shelves of all that stuff. It's still there. Yay! Totally. And if the rest of you are sitting back going, okay, it's something we tried and we're adapting and moving on. Barrett says, I believe in it, but I'm a woo-woo new age soul. Welcome, Barrett. Totally. All right, so number six, we get into a different sort of nonfiction, less self-help and new age, and more journaling. So this is called An Eye on the Hebrides by Mary Hedderwick. She is an illustrator / writer, and this is one of those beautiful books. It's not a coffee table book, it's paperback, but if you look, she basically does these journeys reflecting and sketching and talking about people who she meets and experiences she observes, and just like things she notices, like every day. A huarach, prettiest wreck I've ever seen, and the brambles will be good this September. She's talking about things in Scotland. There's like a truck here that's overgrown with brambles and like the mountains behind it. It's just like a really great survey of the Hebridean Isles. And if you don't know, now you know. Hebridean Isles, that is the name for the islands off of the west coast of Scotland in Argyll, which I write about. So that'll come in later. Okay, well, I got this at Powell's. So in my search for what to write about, I started in England, started with a mystery, went to Nova Scotia on a trip, set one in Nova Scotia as a YA supernatural, and then I sort of fell into an obsession with Scotland. Yeah, don't know, no, not sure why. Maybe it's astrological, but I found out after the 3rd book that I wrote that I am part Scottish, less German than we thought, and more Scottish because the person who was missing has a Scottish name rather than a German name. And it was like, oh, duh. So I've been searching out the land of my roots, if you will. In Argyll, there's lots of different families and clans that hail from there. And I went to Scotland on my first visit in 2011, I think 11, and then again in 13 and 15. And those 2 second and third trips were concerned with visiting the islands. Mull, where I set my story with the MacLeans, Islay, or Islay as it's called on the street near my house where I grew up, Islay, and then Uist and Barra. And just sort of like sampling what it was like, what the culture was like. I started learning Scots Gaelic here in Portland with an awesome group and who I'm still friends with and are amazing. And yeah, call it astrological, call it what you will, but it was some sort of looking for roots, looking for connections, looking for beauty in the past of this landscape. And yeah, historical fiction writer, found her dream setting. I would definitely live here. I have this struggle between like my country soul and my urban soul, and I'm not sure what it's about, but I find myself as I grow older retreating from the urban delights and like wanting more country solitude, Scottish landscape vibes. So we'll see, we'll see. But this was definitely helpful for establishing that series, which is The Remnants. And oh, let me do something fancy. Let me do something fancy here. I've got the picture of all the books. So here we go. Gonna come up. It says it's up, but I don't see it. There we go. Thank you, StreamYard. So Keening, The Grasping Root, and Stormwreck and Spindrift. Those are the books that I set on Mull in Scotland around Glasgow and in the New World, but that's for later. Yay! Those are good covers. Thank you, Katie. They're two different cover designers. So definitely not me. Love them. Thank you, Barrett. And Jim has read 3 out of 5. Jim is a superstar who has read all of Remnants and gives me all the props on the videos, and I love it. I wish I could shout you out more. I don't want to, you know, become like a stalker and like a weird author. I don't want to like inhabit that space of creepy author. So all hail. Jim is doing a great job shouting out authors on AuthorTube. It's lovely. Thank you so much. Let's see. Barrett also said historical fiction writer felt the pull of the woo-woos. Barrett grabs crystals to cleanse the area. What? What does this mean? I do have some rocks still, but I stole rocks on my trips. I don't know if this is the place to admit that, but yeah. JC says she just added them to her Amazon cart. Awesome, amazing. Katya's here. Katya's part Scottish, but linked to Aberdeenshire, which seems less romantic than the Highlands and Islands. Well, you know, Aberdeen is on my list for the next trip, so I'm sure there's just as amazing history. Aberdeen actually has a lot of religious trauma history that I haven't dived into, but for sure, if I go there, it would be on my list. Also, some of the civil wars, like prisons and stuff. So very exciting stuff. Very exciting stuff in Aberdeenshire. It's also much sunnier. So Argyllshire on the west coast has like a subtropical rainforest climate. Not really, but the east is where it's always sunny. So hey, you're in luck. Hey, Chrissy's here. Hi, Chrissy. Return cart. She likes historical fiction as well. So there you go. I was doing my research as an author, and it landed me in Argyll. So that's part of my journey. Time and place. Okay. Here we go. Book 7. We have A Year in a Scots Kitchen by Catherine Brune. Catherine Brown. I think she's still alive, but she did a lot of cookery specials. She's on UK TV. And I've watched a lot of her on like YouTube clips and stuff. And I like her writing voice much more than her documentary voice, because she just has a tendency to say, "Oh, that's nice. That's nice." And I'm like, "Can you not use the same word for all this tasting?" It just drove me up a wall. So I ended up like not liking her voice anymore. But I do love, I actually have 2 books that she's put together about Scottish cookery and A Year in a Scots Kitchen. And I chose this one because it's a unbelievably great reference when I was looking at cooking. So if any of y'all do food and fiction tags, please tag me, because I love putting food in my books. And I don't know if Jim wants to weigh in on this, if it jumped out at him. Yes, but one of the things I love is getting to, and it takes a lot of layers, right? So when you think about time and place in books, you have to think, okay, so there's the time period. You have to do the setting. You have to set up, okay, this is 1822, so they have these foods, but they don't have these foods. They haven't, you know, changed over from farmed agricultural vegetable garden food to industrialized food. There's no like margarine. But then you got to think about, what time of the year is it? Is it winter? Is it spring? Seamus, the person in my Scots Gaelic group who was marshaling us all, he has an issue with me calling it like the starving months or like the starving time of the year, the early spring. But you know, this is what I found when I did research. When you have your root crops locked away for the winter and they're almost gone and there's nothing green growing or the snow is not done yet, like it's a thin time. Like, so that's when that's it. So anyway, time of the year is important. Catherine Brown goes into different regions of Scotland, like Shetland, and the West, and the hunting estates, and really interesting. She's got how historically they would prepare something, and then for modern audiences, how you would prepare something. And way back when I moved from DC, I thought that I would be doing like cooking classes based on the places that I wrote about. And so I did a lot of research in Scottish peasant cooking and how I could do recipes and teach people how to do them. And I settled in this condo here, so it's not like I wanted to invite people in here to do a cooking lesson, and I just didn't pursue it. But the knowledge is still there. The love of adapting those types of things is still there. So yes, Catherine Brown. Catherine Brown. Barrett's gonna run. Thank you so much for stopping by. And he's reminding me to do the thing. Hit the like button, all that stuff, subscribe. You guys are always subscribed. You're already super friends. So that's why I just don't bother saying that anymore. Jim is now reading 1774 Williamsburg, Cry of the Innocent. A lot happening in the kitchen. And lots of ale drinking. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Alcohol is a very indicative detail as well, because is it ale? Is it whiskey? What did they have? Did they have peat? Did they have gin? Like different England and America differences. Okay. Book number 8. I've got, before I do this, I thought I would ask, current read you can't wait to get back to, because sneaky me. I've been reading this. Totally off topic, but I can't wait to get back to it. I've been reading it 3 days and I'm almost done, because it's trash for this series for as long as it lasts, and then I'll throw it across the room and be done with that shit. But yeah, it's really good right now. Okay, so feel free to tell me current read that you can't wait to get back to, and your other reason for procrastinating besides booktube videos. Book number 8 for me is Coatbridge, 3 Centuries of Change. And I talked about, in my literary adventures, gathering little pamphlets like this. You can see it's not actually a book, it's like a pamphlet, at the places where I stopped. And my last trip in 2018, last time I was on a plane, was to Glasgow and Argyll and London. And when I was in Glasgow with my mother, who is a fantastic traveling companion, we went to several places that were adapted historical sites. Like, it used to be a manor and now it was turned over to a county park. Or it used to be a coal mine and it was turned over to an industrial museum. And we still my heart, right? Historical fiction writer falls in love with absolutely every historical museum she visits. That's me. And Coatbridge is in, let's see, it's about due east of Glasgow, but Glasgow's kind of big. So I was investigating all the little towns around Glasgow that were industrializing at the time my family was coming back, because I was trying to figure out where to put them at the end of Stormwrack and Spindrift, which I'll talk about later. And so this is one of the ones I picked up that was perfect, because it talks about what it used to be, what it turned into. And so, of course, I have the sections. So they have maps, and you love a good map. And it was just really useful. Chemical works, the iron works, like details that you will not find online or anywhere else. And so this is why you need to travel as an author, because, or you write and then you write to the gift shop and say, hey, what do you have? But that takes a lot longer. So I like being there in the place. And in case you're wondering where Coatbridge is, I took out my map. So Glasgow is on the River Clyde, which comes in from the west coast and goes inland towards Scotland. Let's see if I could do this backwards thing. Here we have Glasgow city center over here, and the river comes down and goes this way. And when you go north, that's where you go to Loch Lomond, by the way, in case any of you know Loch Lomond. But I went northeast. There's a place called Bishop Briggs, which Bishop Briggs is also a fantastic band / singer, which I recommend. Great karaoke songs. But we also go and we see a Roman fortlet. So that got worked into my book. And we see up here we have Kirkintilloch. I had information on the railways there. That got worked into the book. And if you go southeast, I think it's just off this map, is where you find Coatbridge. So, your historical fiction author loves a good map. And these are great. This is not part of my book haul. That's a map. All right, book 9. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been talking so long. Book 9. Oh, we got an answer. Jim said he just finished Beloved. Did it floor you? Did you have this look on your face when you finished? Was it satisfying? Let me know. Yeah. That's a big one. That's definitely a big one. Okay, so book 9, again, a pamphlet that I got when I went to a place. This is actually a place I discovered online and then planned half of my trip around it because, let's see, anyone want to wonder or hazard a guess how to pronounce that? That's how they spell it in English. That's how they spell it in Gaelic. I love giving impossible puzzles. I'm sorry. Okay, it's Auchendrawn. Auchendrawn. And this is my dream, my traveling dream. It's a historical village. So they've taken a village that was abandoned in the 50s or 60s, 1950s, 60s. And because people were living in those houses up until that time, they were preserved in different states of disarray, shall we say. So they fixed them up to sort of show a progression of a village in different time periods because they were all updated to different standards. And it really shows you the Button Ben, the Black House. There's lots of museums dotted around Scotland about the Black House. And so I definitely use those resources when I wrote the Keening and then continued to use them. But this one I got to visit. And the reason I planned my visit around it is that they had the last walking session. I say it like with an L, Waulking. Walking is the same as felling cloth. It's putting a urine mixture in cloth to make it weatherproof and basically like processing it, what we would do differently now. But you would get your group of community, kind of like barn raising, and have your big old square of cloth, scrunch it up, put it in the mixture, and sit at a table and pass it around and beat it on the table so that it got agitated and it would form a closer weave. And that's how you got the most weather-resistant clothing you could. It was wool that had been felled or walked. And they did a demonstration. And the cool thing about walking is that you sang when you did it. So you had a chant. It was kind of, I mean, you could even think of like chain gangs, how they sing when they're working, or like songs like that. When people are doing something that's hard and monotonous and you're with a group of people, like you come up with the song and it makes it a little bit easier, makes the time go faster. And so I wanted to go to this demonstration. I met the ladies who were doing it. They came in costume, showed me about drop spindle. They showed me how to walk. They sang with me. They made up a little rhyme about me and like how, you know, the gossip would have been flung around. And so I incorporated a little of that. I'm trying to remember where I put it. But yeah, this is definitely a fantastic experience. And it was me feeling like, oh, I found the exact event I want to go to. Like it was super awesome. So this was, again, from the 2018 trip. Jim says, Beloved is amazing. Cheer, cheer, cheer. Yes. He's in with the crowd, the amazing mainstream on that one. I'm excited to hear about it after the OTAG. And for my last book, I can't believe I'm talking this long. Here's my last book. Ta-da! Stormwrack and Spindrift by me. This is the last book I wrote. Came out in 2019. And it's about two of the people who we have followed through time. It's the third book in the series. and it's set partly in Nova Scotia and partly in Scotland. And different challenges, different obstacles for these people to face, but it allowed me to go back into Argyll and sort of twist the tension. So before it was people getting wait. Okay, mute this if you haven't read The Keening yet. Before the beginning of the series, it was the family getting kicked off their land. It's called the Clearances. It's a big event in history that lasted for decades and decades. It's kind of like the potato famine and how the English cleared the Irish off of the land when they couldn't pay rent anymore. It's the Scottish version of that. And so it was like the poorest class and how they scraped together money to emigrate. This book is when they've had a generation in Nova Scotia. They've got a farm. They are somewhat tenuous, but still have a way to have savings. They've married into local families. And this character, who's on the cover, goes back to Scotland with her husband and is in a different class. And so they have different struggles. And she's struggling with coming to terms with a new identity that is different from the one she was growing up. And so I thought that was a fascinating thing to explore. And it's also kind of what I'm exploring in the book I'm writing now, sort of like a new identity based on economic change and circumstances and battling with family about that. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. Okay, spoiler alert's over. This is my latest book, and as an author, because this is the time and place, I will always think of the bookstore, Another Read Through, because that is where I worked for 5 years in Portland. It closed. I was the last event they had with my book launch. I sang, I was in costume. I had all my friends come to this launch event, and it was quite bittersweet because who's going to have a better job than working at a used bookstore where your colleagues are all your friends and authors and trying to do good in the community? So I'm going to get emotional again here. And Jim likes this cover the best. Oh, interesting. Okay. This is the one I had a little bit of trouble finding. It took forever to find, and then the person who did it didn't speak English very well, and so I had a hard time sort of negotiating what I wanted to change on the cover. So I ended up handing it back to the earlier cover designers and saying, can you change this and this and this? And they were like, sure, I don't have the original files, but we'll see what we can do. So yeah, it was kind of a journey. But yeah, so that's what I remember is Another Read Through, and yeah, that memory of how that ended before the pandemic started, still bittersweet. I have forgotten 2 more links I was going to put up, so let's do that. When I talked about my journeys to the Hebrides, I was going to push this out here. This is another blog post I have that is about this second trip, the 2015 trip, where I went to the islands, and it's about the blues that I found there. The sky blue, the macher. If you don't know, macher is a type of ecosystem. It's like a grass soil type that they have there and in some other places, but that's how they call it in Gaelic. And so I just put some pictures up that might be fun to go through. And for the Glasgow one, I have my Instagram posts from the 2018 trip. And this is when I was rooting around trying to find where to set that end of the story. So Coatbridge and Kirkintilloch and Bishop Briggs and like all those museums that I visited. So that was a fun post to dive into for a little bit. But there we have it. There are my 10 books. I hope Katya and Jackie and JC are excited about showing their author journeys in this way, but hopefully this is a fun tag for them. If you have any desire to join me next Friday, I'm going to be on a productivity sprint, probably working on my rewrites for the current book. And if you want to join our next AuthorTube panel, that's going to be Sunday, September 12th at 2 o'clock. So I have 5 people for this one, and it's going to be on Dream Book Events. So if you have ideas, we'd love to hear them, but we're also going to talk about if we had everything going perfectly, what would our dream book event look like? So that might include indie bookstores, that might include innovative interactive ideas, that might include adjacent communities to readers. You'll just have to wait and find out. And yeah, so join me for either of those. I look forward to seeing you guys all soon in, I don't know, books and talks and Twitter and Instagram. And thanks for coming. I can't believe how long I talked on this one. Yeah. Brittany tagged me in like April, so don't worry. I'm not like looking at the clock and having it tick away. So yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed the tag and enjoyed this walk down memory lane, and yeah, have a great weekend, and thanks for your support, everybody. I love it. Love you guys. Bye. See you soon.